Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. This is Keisha. And today, well, actually last night, but matter of fact, I'm lying. This morning, as I awoke, I had a thought in my mind about revelation is not the right word I'm looking for, but it's more so exposure is probably the better word, right? Exposure. And 2020 being the year of vision and all of that, it's like it just continues to ring in my mind that although we've had so much going on for 2020, it still is the year of vision, right? The year of clarity, the year of change and newness in my mind. I was deeming 2020, my best year yet. And it's crazy because how, on the one hand, we can deem it, as my best year yet, while at the same time, it seems to be the worst year that I have experienced in my life. And, thank God not personally, but just that I've witnessed things that I have seen just in these first 5 months have been more than I've seen, in my life, all at once, So in thinking about it, when I woke this morning, that was the thought that was on my mind. It was like revelation was the thought, right? But exposure is what I believe it to be. And I say that with this in mind. As we came into the new year and COVID, happened, we were now being, forced into an unusual situation, stay at home, shelter in place, finding out that melanin are the most likely to contract it. So much that showed our physical, economical condition in this world. And when that happened, there was exposure that took place pertaining to staying at home with a spouse and realizing that they were not, or you were not, happy, and clashes happening within relationships. Now granted, there are some, I'm not saying all, I'm just pointing out the exposure part because thank God for those who are in healthy relationships and was able to actually be closer during this time, maybe be able to come together and talk about dreams and visions that they had not discussed before, plans for the future that they had not discussed before, creativity that they had not discussed before. But I'm speaking of those that have realized or came to an epiphany that they were not happy with the person that they have been living with for years. And that is a tragedy, right? And now you're faced with, either looking yourself in the mirror to say, wow, I'm not who I thought I was. This relationship is not what I thought it was. And now you are thinking about divorce. You're thinking thoughts of failure and thoughts of how did I, stay in this relationship, for all these years? What do I do right here? I mean, I say pray. I say pray, one, because there's a lot of energy in our midst right now that is also creating some of that. So don't necessarily take that to mean, oh my God, this relationship is over and throw it all away. I would advise to pray about it, because when there's certain energies around us, just like we know when there's certain people that we are around, that we associate with, that it can create certain mindsets in us. It can create certain desires in us, certain appetites in us that are not necessarily healthy ones. And then we're fortunate sometimes to have associations that are healthy. But be mindful of that if you're going through that right now. But that's one exposure point that came to my mind. The other is getting to know your children, as I have mentioned in other videos before. That in getting to know your children, you realize that they are not who you thought they were. You're learning things about them, that you don't like, and you're wondering, like, where did you get this from? Peer pressure, associations, once again, and you're just kind of moving around them every day and not really knowing who they are and what they're experiencing in this generation right now. So now you're kind of thrown back to say, like, who are you? Right? That's one thing. You also have scenarios where you realize friends or non-friends, right? People that you thought were friends, that you find out that they were not really your friends, and of course that's heartbreaking. You realized how much money you could save, right? During this time, as you're not spending money. You also realized what poor condition your finances might be in during this time as well too, that made you kind of step back and say, wow, if I had lost my job right now, or for some of you that have lost your job right now, and you're thinking, man, I had so much money coming in, so much opportunity to save and put money aside, and I didn't, right? So you realize something about yourself, about your lifestyle that wasn't necessarily healthy. Exposure. Okay, exposing things that are not good. We've always dealt with police brutality and unfairness in laws and rules and all kind of things. We've known this, right? But as we go about our busy day, only when something really happens does it really kind of come up. And right now, this is another time of exposure where things are blatant. Right? Things are blatant, like the knee on the neck. It's blatant, and you looking directly in the camera. And this could make me cry right now talking about it. Right? I felt like we watched a man be strangled without the rope. That's what that felt like. And you looking in the camera with your full body weight, and you looking down at him as well, periodically for periods of time, while I could see in the video that you still applying pressure, even while you're looking down. What you waiting for? You waiting for the breathing to stop? Blatant. I'm talking about blatant. That is exposure, right? And I believe that leadership, of course, is necessary, right? I mean, we had the Martin Luther Kings, we had the Malcolm X, we had the Huey Newtons, we had, different leaders, but it is a time, where leadership and organization needs to come forward, right? These young kids are out here trying to, come together to do something with high emotions, but not a lot of direction. And it would be really a good thing. And I'm, even kind of thinking to myself, like, what could I do? What part, could I play? Because change is necessary, right? Change is necessary. But I go back to where I started, that when I woke up this morning, the thought was revelation, right? And as I said, I take that to mean exposure, that this is about 2020 vision. It is about 2020 vision in so many ways, where we are revealing things that have been there or that have accelerated. And now they are being exposed. They are being revealed. Things that we need to work on in our own lives, that's being revealed to us. And we have an opportunity right now with that revelation, with that exposure, to affect change, right? To enact change in our lives and the lives of our family, and the choices that we're making to be unified as a people, to, step up and have a certain mindset towards one another, towards the things that apply to us, towards the things that elevate us, towards the things that make this world a better place for us to live in. And we know that we have been oppressed, right? We know that we have been disenfranchised. We know that we are less likely than our counterparts to succeed in certain areas without, putting our whole life, blood, sweat, guts, everything into it times 10,000, right? What we, also know is that, we don't get paid the same. We also know that we're, more likely to, be pulled over, right? I mean, I even as a woman, right, have, cops drive up behind me really close on my bumper. And I know you're up on my bumper because you're checking my plate, right? And then a few minutes later, you pull off to the side and go past me. But you were checking my plate. Why? Because I drive a Lexus? I mean, like, why? I don't know. But it always is an uncomfortable feeling, And when I heard someone say that recently, I know the feeling that I have, right, about it. Excuse me. I know the feeling that I have about it as well. And it's not a comfortable feeling. So when I think about, my brother out there with that same type of pressure every day, and think about the stuff that, we're seeing. And as I said, and watching that video, right, as well as the others that have taken place, it's always heart-wrenching. It's always heart-wrenching. So as I said, I don't, kind of want to get off, onto all of that. I want to kind of stick to what it is that I'm sharing, that I hope that you get to walk away with. And that is 2020 is still the year of vision. 2020 is still the year of clarity for you. 2020 is, yes, a year of change. Yes, there are so many things that we are experiencing, and there's certain negativities in our midst right now. But we need to see from a higher level that the darkness will not overtake the light, right? The darkness will not overtake the light. What it is that the darkest hour comes before the dawn. And that it's dark so that when the light comes on, it makes you see better, clearer, right? And that's the place that we are in right now in 2020 as we are half the year. And I implore, everyone that is listening, please subscribe. If you're hearing this, please subscribe, please share. YouTube, Keisha Taylor, Kisha, and please subscribe. Because, more and more people hearing people that want to share something positive, right? This is about unhealthy thoughts being exposed, right? And healthy thoughts replacing them. So that's what I'm about. And I ask that you, of course, subscribe. And I also ask that you share for anyone that needs to hear this message. Because I want you to see 2020 is the year of vision, right? Spiritual vision. Okay, emotional vision, choice vision, right? Decision vision, things that you have done in the past that need to change because it's not impacting your life in a positive way. The way that you used to think, the way that you used to move, the way that you used to act, the things that you allowed yourself to get involved in. Those things need to change, that we need to come up higher to a different level. Because as we continue to grow, as we continue to come up higher, as we continue to accomplish more, as we continue to position ourselves in places of influence, that influence will stretch across the masses, and there will be a position of power in that. And having that position of power and influence, there can be more change affected. There could be more communities unified. There could be more families saved. There could be, more income or programs or that sort of thing in the communities. More examples of men standing up, being that example for the young men that's coming behind them. Women that are not stressed, working 3, 4, 5 jobs, trying to maintain the household by herself, right? And you can't even barely raise these kids, and now they're out here in these streets by themselves doing what, right? That we will now be in a place as women, a place of peace and nurturing and healthy thinking and attitudes, where we can impact change in the communities. Some of you know that, even in the prisons, right? They brought women in. Why? Because it was just too much testosterone going on, right? And the women created calm. Never a perfect scenario, right? Never a perfect scenario, but that piece of that nurturing piece within that environment had an impact on stabilizing things. And I just use that as an example because that's my background. But I'm just saying it to say that it also has that same effect when we are stable as women, when we are sound as women, when we are in a place of peace as women. And all of these things I am seeing as revelation, and I am seeing as exposed all of the things that we have dealt with, all of the issues that we have experienced, all of the traumas that we have had, they are all floating to the top right now to be dealt with. And there's always decency and order in dealing in any situation. So I implore you to take a look at that for yourselves and think about your own life as well. And I ask that you, as I said, subscribe, share, like this message, and look at this year's 2020 vision and clarity for yourself, the things that's been exposed to you in your life about you and about your family, and make the decision today to make a change in your life. So take care, be blessed, and I'll speak to you next time on the next episode of Let's Talk.